The most controversial decision of the season just exploded. A Commander's star is putting the entire season at risk with a move that's pushing the organization to the brink. Meanwhile, a seemingly devastating injury might turn into the miracle we needed, and Quinn just confirmed the smartest signing nobody saw coming. If you think you know everything about these Commanders, you're completely wrong. Like, if you're ready for the most brutal truth of the offseason, and subscribe, because this is just getting started. I can't believe how Quinn and Peters are building this defense. Von Miller, 36 years old, Hall of Fame, just signed with the Commanders, and I'm telling you, this is the smartest move nobody saw coming. Let me explain why this is great. While everyone's complaining that Miller is 36, I see a veteran who last year with Buffalo had 6 sacks and 32 pressures in only 209 pass rush snaps. Do you get what that means? That's elite production. Listen closely to what Quinn said. We're not for everyone, but for those who love football. This is the kind of environment where you can thrive. Do you think he's talking about just anything? No, he's setting a standard. Miller didn't come here just for money. He came because he wants a ring. And here's the smartest part. Quinn revealed that it was fun talking pass rush with Miller. They talked about the Pass Rushers Summit, where Miller's been involved for years, sharing knowledge with other veterans. Do you see what's happening here? Miller isn't just a player. He's a mentor. Imagine Montez Sweat, Darren Payne, our entire defensive line learning from a Hall of Famer who's been to Super Bowls, who's dominated the league for over a decade. Quinn was specific about what he's looking for. We want to see if, as a pass rusher, he can win the initial strike, and he has different unique talents. He can bend, he's long, but at this point, it's the skills. I like stunts. I like how he's versatile. Can play standing up, can play crouched. Did you hear that? Stunts, versatility. Miller isn't going to be just another pass rusher. He's going to be the brain of our defense, the one confusing offensive lines with his experience. And here's what has me most excited. Adam Peters gives the coaching staff the ability to evaluate players and be involved in discussions. This wasn't just a front office decision. It was a team decision. Quinn saw the tape and said, "This man still has it." I believe Peters and Quinn are building something special here. First, they brought Jaden Daniels, winning mentality. Then, Deebo Samuel, hungry veteran. Now Von Miller, Hall of Fame with something to prove. Do you see the pattern? Only players who live and breathe competition at the highest level. And you know what's the craziest part of all this? While the Cowboys are paying fortunes for players who don't deliver results, we're bringing in veterans hungry for a ring on smart contracts. Miller comes with a point to prove, not with the arrogance of guaranteed money. That's Burgundy and Gold. Baby, this organization finally understands how to build a winning culture. If that surprises you, wait to hear this, because what's coming could change our entire season. Commanders fans, get ready because this is historic. Sam Cosmi, our star guard who tore his ACL in the divisional victory against Detroit, might be ready for Week 1 against the Giants. No way, but let me tell you the full story because this is much bigger than it seems. When Cosmi got injured in the playoffs, we all thought the 2025 season was lost. A torn ACL typically means 8 to 12 months of recovery. We're talking July, just 6 months post-injury. This isn't normal. Quinn caused a stir when he revealed that Cosmi's participation in Week 1 is on the table. Commanders fans were shocked because we expected he'd be out much longer. But after hitting all his markers for months regarding his rehab, Quinn is cautiously optimistic. Here's the smart move by the organization. Quinn clarified the next day to temper enthusiasm. He said, if he comes off PUP, then he can be eligible for that. But we won't know for a few more weeks. If we wait until after and start the season, then it's automatically 4 games. Do you understand the strategic difference? If Cosmi can come off the physically unable to perform list before the season starts, he could play immediately. If not, he automatically misses the first 4 games. We're talking about the difference between having our elite offensive line from the first snap or waiting until October. And here's what has me most excited. Quinn said that Cosmi is already doing drills and things, but as for acclimating to the team scrimmages, we haven't reached that point yet. I'd say in another month we'll have a good idea. He's doing drills! After years of watching this team lose players to injuries at critical moments, Chris Thompson, Darius Geis, Chase Young, the list is endless. We finally have an organization managing rehabs the way they should be. But here's the part that drives me crazy. When Quinn says in another month we'll have a good idea, I think he already knows the answer. Coaches don't talk about week one unless they're genuinely optimistic. They're being cautious publicly, but internally they already have positive signs. And do you know why Cosmi's return is critical? Because he was essential in protecting Jaden Daniels all last season. Our offensive line was the difference between a historic season and a rookie quarterback being destroyed. Cosmi specifically was the guard that gave Daniels time in the pocket. Now imagine, Daniels in his second season, more experience, better chemistry with his receivers, and his favorite protection back from day one. That's a recipe for offensive domination. I tell you this, while the Eagles are worried about their offensive line after losing Jason Kels, and the Giants are still the Giants, we could have the best offensive line in the division from the first game. Quinn is extremely pleased with how things are developing. If the trend continues, don't count out Cosmi by any means. This organization finally has the medical and rehab staff that can work miracles. But that's nothing compared to what's coming. Because this next news has the whole organization divided. I can't believe what's happening with Terry McLaurin. Our star receiver, the man who's been the face of this franchise for years, is creating a distraction that's officially causing more problems than it's worth. And it's time for this standoff to end. But let me explain exactly why this has me so upset. Terry McLaurin is a second-team All-Pro. He caught 13 touchdowns last year and has surpassed 1,000 receiving yards in each of his last 5 seasons. He's a top 10 receiver in the NFL, maybe even bordering the top 5. More important than any of those things, he's one of Washington's most reliable leaders on and off the field. Here's the harsh reality. McLaurin isn't showing up to training camp because he has to. He's choosing to leverage his position to press for a new contract. And that's not right. Listen to this. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last, that an NFL player resorts to this negotiation tactic. It's also a move that understandably doesn't sit well with many fans, especially for a member of a team with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. Do you think Kirk Cousins didn't deserve a contract? Of course, he did. But Cousins famously played through 2 franchise tags after long-term extension negotiations fell through. He never threatened to sit. There's a certain duty any player owes to their team to not let their demands come at the expense of the team. And here's what hurts me the most. McLaurin's teammates and coaching staff are all counting on him, being a big part of this Commanders squad. Washington brought in Deebo Samuel Sr. this offseason in large part specifically to make his life easier. For the first time in his career, the former third-round pick has a true number 2 option on the other side of the field that can attract defenses. And he decides to create drama right when we need him the most, missing OTAs and the mandatory. Minicamp is one thing for a player in McLaurin's position, but training camp is the unofficial start of the new school year. It's time to get to work, but here's what really bothers me. There are still 8 full months between now and when McLaurin is set to reach free agency. An extension can be resolved at any point before next March. If he builds on last year's success, he could even increase his value. Why create this drama now? Why risk the team's chemistry when we finally have something special? And don't come to me saying, it's just business. Of course it's business, but it's also leadership. McLaurin has been the veteran rookies look up to, the one who leads by example. What example is he setting now? I understand Terry deserves his $30 million per year. Of course he does. He's one of the best receivers in the league, has been. Loyal to this organization through terrible years, and now that we finally have a team that can compete, he deserves to be compensated. But the Commanders also deserve for him to show up to work, with or without a new contract. The bottom line is that McLaurin is under contract to play football for the Commanders during the 2025 season, and many other Washington stars over the years haven't had issues playing under expiring contracts. Do you remember when Art Monk played without complaining? When Darrell Green gave it his all without creating drama? There's a tradition of professionalism in this organization that McLaurin is breaking. It's disappointing to see this approach taken by someone everyone in Washington thought was well aware of that duty to the team. If he builds on last year's success, he could even increase his value. But if he harms the team's chemistry and we lose games because of his absence, how is he going to feel when he sees the highlights of what could have been? Commanders fans, let's recap. Miller, winning culture and Hall of Fame mentorship. Cosmi, miraculous return that could give us the best offensive line in the division from day one. McLaurin, questionable decision putting leadership against money. But here's the truth. Quinn and Peters are building something special in Washington. They're bringing in only players who live and breathe competition. They're handling injuries like an elite organization. And they're setting standards that even our stars must respect. Miller comes hungry for a ring at 36 years old. Cosmi is doing the impossible to return in record time. McLaurin is, well, creating distractions when the team needs him. The most. Do you believe McLaurin should show up to training camp regardless of his contract situation? Or does he have the right to push for his money? And what do you think about Miller's signing? Smart move or unnecessary risk? Can Cosmi really be ready for week one, or are we being too optimistic? Let me know in the comments, because you're part of this Commanders family. Like if you think Quinn is making the right decisions. Subscribe if you want to follow all the training camp coverage. And share if you know other fans who need to hear these truths, because I guarantee you that tomorrow we'll have more explosive news, and you can't miss what's coming. This organization is changing before our eyes, and together we're going to document every moment of this journey to the Super Bowl. And remember, hail to the Redskins!